Hi there, it's math time with Mrs. Depperschmidt. I'm going to continue now with some explanations of things that we'll cover in the chapter about data and probability. This might be something new, so I want to spend a little bit of time with the number line again. There are some confusing things that we'll be working with where you put things on the number line even if they are not whole numbers. You'll see on this number line it runs from 0 up to the number 1, and there are a whole bunch of little teeny sections on the number line. Up till now we've mostly been using number lines that just count by whole numbers, starting with 1, 2, 3, 4, and continuing on. But now we're going to take a look at even smaller parts of numbers. Actually, we're going to be working with fractions here, and we'll need to show these parts on a number line as we work with data and probability. So I'm going to show you one example, and then I'm going to have you work one all by yourself. Let's get started. You can see on this number line that it's cut into a whole bunch of pieces, and if we count them up, starting from 0, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 little spaces to jump across to get all the way to the number 1. And we can say that that space from 0 to the number 1, which we've usually been doing in just one great big hop, counting by one's whole numbers, it's now cut into 10 parts, and you probably already know that those are called tenths. And each little part is a tenth. We start out here on 0, that's 0 tenths. There's 1 tenth, 2 tenths, 3 tenths, and on up until we get to 10 tenths, which is the same as one whole number. Now we could chop this space from the number 0 to the number 1 into any number of smaller parts, and each one would be a teeny part. The first one we would have would be 0 fractions, and the last one might be 100/100ths that it takes to get all the way to the number 1. But whatever your fraction is, you need all of those pieces to make a whole part, just like we did with our tenths. I'm sure you already know that halfway to the number 1, we call that fraction 1/2, and that's also expressed in the fraction 5 tenths. 1/2 and 5 tenths are equivalent fractions. They mean exactly the same thing because they're talking about the same amount. Now I'm going to show you another number line that's cut into a different number of fractional pieces, and I'd like you to copy it in your notebook and add the labels for each of the parts. Here it is. I'll show it for a good amount of time, but please pause this so you can copy this in your math notebook. We have a number line that only counts from 0 to 1. The first fraction is 0/8, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 parts. And when we get to the number 1, that fraction is called 8/8, which means exactly the same thing as one whole. I've already labeled the middle, which is 1/2. And I'd like you to do the eighths kind of small below the number line. And then I'm wondering what fractions you know that are equivalent to some of the eighths below besides the 1/2 as you go by eighths. I think you'll have a good time figuring this out. If you need to refer to the number line from before, I'll show it again in just a moment, but you can also pause the video and go backwards a bit to see the number line that's cut into tenths. Here's an example of how I would like your number line to look when it's all finished, except yours won't be tenths. Yours will be made with eighths. please do as many as you'd like to for practice, but for sure, do the one that's made with eighths. We'll be working on these more in class, so the practice that you do now is going to really help make it easier for you. I really appreciate your hard work in math. Make sure you're kind, and I'll see you at school. Goodbye.